Good morning. Welcome to the California Housing Finance Agency's Audit Committee meeting of the Board of Directors on November 30th, 2023. All of the meeting materials are available on the CalHFA website at calhfa.ca.gov. There will be an opportunity for the public to provide comment, and that there will be instructions during the meeting. If there's anything else needed, you can reach out to us at feedback@calhfa.ca.gov. Thank you. And at this point, I'd like to turn the meeting over to the Audit Committee Chair, Delilah Sotelo.
Good morning. Thank you so much, Melissa. I appreciate it. Good morning, everyone. I hope everyone's well rested after a long Thanksgiving weekend. Welcome to the CalHFA Audit Committee meeting. As Melissa said, I'm the chair of the Audit Committee meeting, and today's meeting should be extremely informative. I'm really looking forward to it. Let me go ahead and introduce the other members of the committee. We have with us board member Fred White, who's here. And we also have representing State Treasurer Ma is Mr. Ted Balmer, who's a senior attorney. So welcome both, and thank you very much for being here.
Thank you.
Great. So with that, Melissa, can we go ahead and do the official roll call?
Certainly. Mr. Balmer for Treasurer Ma.
Present.
Mr. White.
Here.
Ms. Sotelo.
Here.
We do have a quorum.
Wonderful, thank you. Given that we have a quorum, item number 2 on our agenda is the approval of the meeting minutes from our last October 26th meeting. Does anyone have any changes or any comments to the minutes? Okay, so do I hear a motion to approve the meeting minutes?
Motion to approve the October 26, 2023 meeting minutes.
Great, okay. So let's go ahead and by consensus have those minutes approved and reflected in the record. Thank you very much. So, today's meeting is, like I said, we anticipate it's going to be very informative. It is a follow-up to our last update from our illustrious team. So we're very eager to hear our progress and how we're doing. And if there's any, implementation modifications that we need as an organization, this is a nice time for us to be able to discuss robustly. So Director White and Mr. Balmer, please, you can ask your questions as we're going through the presentation. I think that's always more helpful than having to remember them at the end of the presentation. So if our presenters don't mind, that's how I would like to run today's meeting. As questions come up, we can go ahead and just show raise of hands or just get my attention, and we'll recognize your question. So with that, I'd like to go ahead and turn it over to our CIO, Mr. Kumar, and then we have our Chief Information Security Officer, Mr. Nakao. So I'm going to go ahead and let them get started on the presentation. And like I said, if you have any questions during the presentation, just raise your hand or get our attention, and we will recognize your questions. So with that, let me go ahead and turn it over. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Can everybody hear me?
We can.
All right, very nice. Thank you. Madam Chair Sotelo, members of the Audit Committee, Deputy Director Scholz, my peers and staff for CalHFA, and members of the public, good morning to you all. My name is Ashish Kumar, for the record, and I'm the Chief Information Officer for the agency. Together with Russell Nakao, Chief Information Security Officer, we want to thank you for giving us an opportunity to speak about our 2023 annual information security update. Every year, CalHFA spends considerable amount of time and resources in ensuring that we are meeting our mandatory regulatory and legal information security compliance standards towards protecting our sensitive data. Our information security program is important as it continues to build confidence in our ability to conduct day-to-day operations without disruptions. This program helps in protecting against cyber attacks and security threats, and further assists in preventing data breaches, fraud, and loss of critical information. Next slide, please. Today, I will provide a brief update on what is cybersecurity and measures we are taking to protect us. And Russell will talk about cybersecurity topics that is of interest to CalHFA. And lastly, conclude the presentation by looking ahead to 2024. And as Madam Chair Satella mentioned, please let us know if you have any questions during the presentation, and we will be more than happy to answer those for you as we go through the presentation. Next slide, please. Isn't information security and cybersecurity the same thing? Well, information security is another way of saying data security, whereas cybersecurity is a practice of being protected against cyber criminals, unauthorized use of electronic data, and taking steps to protect against cyber incidents. Information security is for information irrespective of the realm, while cybersecurity deals with the danger in cyberspace. Nowadays, a lot of CalHFA data is electronically stored on computer systems and in the cloud, whereas previously it was kept in physical cabinets. Though this has changed, some confidential and sensitive information is still kept in that manner. Information security focuses on ensuring that all data in any format is kept safe and secure. With that being in mind, CalHFA focuses on cybersecurity and information security by protecting our systems, networks, and programs. And we do that by recognizing what data is significant to us, where it is located, the potential risks to that data, and the methods and tools necessary to protect it from certain risk vectors. Next slide, please. Here are just a few cybersecurity measures to protect CalHFA. The first is we have a comprehensive information security program in place. This plan that guides CalHFA in ensuring data and network is guarded from potential security threats. Later in the presentation, you'll find out how this program and other systems are assessed on a regular basis to ensure proper maintenance and compliance standards are in place. Cyber resilience includes security, monitoring, and business continuity and data and disaster recovery technology. A successful cyber resilience strategy requires a holistic approach that starts with people and processes and then technology. Thus, our posture includes these three important components. When we talk about our people, we are referring to staff and stakeholders. Staff can create some of the greatest risks to cybersecurity. However, when they are informed, they can also be an asset and a first line of defense. We have seen an increase in the number of attacks targeting our staff. Russell will cover some of the common attacks that we have seen over the year. And as such, we conducted 10 training sessions and 9 phishing campaigns throughout the year to keep our staff aware of potential scams and ways they can make CalHFA vulnerable. We have promoted use of strong passwords that is unique to each staff account. We update our systems and applications as soon as patches are released. And we do not allow any unknown outside software as they can open security vulnerabilities in our network. When we talk of processes, we refer to strategies that proactively prevent and allow us to respond quickly and effectively in an event of a cyber security incident. And as such, we have a cyber incident response plan in place. This plan provides procedures to addressing cyber security incidences. We have proper backups in place and they're tested frequently. And we have processes in place to collect and analyze threat. When we talk about technology, we refer to a series of technologies we have implemented at CalHFA to safeguard our operational controls. We do not implement isolated point solutions, but rather select tools based on its ability to be integrated and automated to create a security fabric that can facilitate rapid detection and mitigation of threats. We leverage concepts such as network complexities, segmentation, virtual private networks, multi-factor authentication in our environment, just to name a few. We believe that modern network security requires these layered defense approach that factors in people, process, and technology. Together, such tactics enhances our visibility and shortens threat response times, resulting in minimizing the impact of cyber attacks. This concludes my part of the presentation. Thank you for listening. If you have any questions for me, I'll be more than happy to address that now. And Russell is up next.
Before we move on, Mr. Kumar, thank you very much for that. It was very informative. Would you be able to give us a sense of how many threats were encountered this year and, how successful we were in mitigating the impact of those threats?
Yeah, so Madam Chair, thank you for the question. If I understand, the question is, do we have a list of, or do we have a number of threats that we have seen throughout the year, and how do we encounter those, or how do we go through and resolve those? So it's really hard to know the total number of threats. I think on a daily basis, we have thousands of packets that keep hitting our network. We have a security events management system in place that allows us to kind of monitor that. It's a 24/7, 365 service that we enable a third party to look at all the threats that come in. We have a list of that we can provide to the team that shows us all the threats that comes into the network. Has there been any reportable incidences last year? No, there has not been any threats against us that has that came through or that has penetrated through and put our information at risk. But if you want the exact numbers, we would be more than happy to provide that as the next steps to this. I'll make a note of that.
Yeah, it just is very helpful to know that there's a third party monitoring 24/7, 365. That's very helpful, and congratulations on the no threats that have come through. So I appreciate.
Chair Satella, may I ask a follow-up question, please?
Of course, please.
Thank you very much. Ashish, so I think you said on a daily basis, thousands of packets. So as someone who's not versed in the language here, what does that mean?
So thank you, Board Chair Cervantes, for your follow-up. What that basically means is whenever we try to access the internet, I mean, what you see in front of you is a website, but what happens in the background is a lot of packets going back and forth and communicating with the website services. So likewise, when someone is trying to attack an entity, they are doing the same process by sending those packets, malicious packets, to an entity, and it comes through our firewalls, it comes through all our systems. So that's what we're talking about. We see these threat actors trying to attack our network from external sources, and we have controls in place that allows us to stop those, but we have seen there are thousands of those activities that happen on a daily basis.
So then would those be like viruses, Trojans, and so on? Okay, thank you.
It's a combination. Yes. Russell, go ahead.
Emails. Yeah, no, just like emails coming in. So we have a lot of different filtering tools that filter out all the potential spam emails. So you might get 10 in your email box, but we're not delivering, but moving the spam messages, maybe about 100 or 200 of them, into our quarantine area.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you. Russell, you're up next.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ashish. Good morning, everybody. My name is Russell, and I'm the Chief Information Security Officer here at CalHFA. Today, we're going to talk about 4 different topics: current cybersecurity risks, recent security incidents, results of security audits and assessments, and our progress on cybersecurity projects. So there are many different types of cybersecurity risks, although today we're going to be highlighting 6 that are very high on our radar. The first one is ransomware attacks. And briefly, ransomware continues to be a very big threat. Attackers are targeting both individuals and organizations, and they extort through ransomware attacks to our systems. So if you've ever heard of one, it encrypts your data. So if you have a network drive, the malicious attackers will encrypt it so individuals can't access it unless a ransom is paid. The next one is supply chain attacks. Supply chain attacks involve compromising trusted software or hardware vendors that we use. And that makes this a growing concern. Information technology is being moved outside of the traditional IT department within our agency. So it's not just in IT, there's other information technology applications that are used in different departments. So we want to protect ourselves from these third-party applications. The next is zero-day exploits. As new vulnerabilities are discovered, threat actors may use these zero-day exploits to target software patches before they're available. Phishing and social engineering is always high on the list. Cyber criminals continue to use these phishing emails and social engineering techniques to trick individuals into revealing sensitive information or downloading malicious software. We have an example there at the right, if you can see. It's an actual text message from one of our staff members that they received. And it's it's crafted very well because it uses names and plays upon how one individual works in turn with another. So it's very concerning because phishing emails are probably the easiest way a malicious actor will be able to gain access to a network. The next on our list is cloud security. With the increasing adoption of cloud services, excuse me, securing data and applications in the cloud, so that's data that resides outside of our physical walls, it's very critical. So misconfigured cloud settings can lead to data exposure. And the last on our list is remote work security. So the shift to remote work has increased the attack surface, with home networks and personal devices potentially being less secure than corporate environments. We have to work harder to secure those devices. Next slide, please. Thank you. CalHFA has an incident response plan to guide us if a security incident occurs. So we work closely with the California Compliance and Security Incident Reporting System called CalCSRS to report and remediate any occurrence that happens. Our last closed reportable event took place in 2019. And currently we're tracking a potential data security incident with one of our business partners. Next, we're going to talk about some of the results of our security audits, assessments, and our staff training. So throughout 2023, CalHFA has participated in these audits and assessments. So the first one on the list is the Independent Security Assessment, and we completed that in March of 2023. Next, we did an IT Risk Assessment, completed October 2023. Following that was the SSAE 21 SOC Type 1, completed in October 23. The information, and this one was new, the Information Security Program Audit, completed by CDT in 2023. The Voluntary Nationwide Cybersecurity Review, it's due in December of 2023. And as Ashish had mentioned before, we hold phishing campaigns and information security training throughout the year to help our staff be more aware of what threats are out there and what to look out for.
Mr. Nikel, before you move on,
Yes.
what is the SSAE 21 SOC type?
It's a document that shows how well a company's internal controls and processes are working. So especially when it comes to like financial information. So it's like a report card that a company gets to prove to their customers and partners that we're handling financial data properly. So it's checks on our like controls, if they're effective, ensuring the accuracy of security or financial information and how we handle that data.
And those are done through a third-party review, or are you just basically answering?
That's correct. Yeah, it's done by a third party.
Okay, thank you.
Madam Chair, the
You're welcome.
official definition for that is statements on standards for attestation engagements. And it's industry standard for entities with financial services. And it is on our controls, and it's done by third party. Clifton Larson Allen helps us assess them.
And they do that annually?
It's every other year.
Every other year. Okay. Director Balmer, Mr. Balmer, do you have a question?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm just wondering, guys, of all of this list, are these required by a statutes, or are they just industry best practices? Do you have somebody advising you on, let's do this thing over here, but not this assessment over here?
Thank you, Mr. Balmer, for your question. Yes, it's a combination of both. The first one, the independent security assessment, and the fourth one on the list, which is the information security programs audit. It's mandated through Office of Information Security and California Department of Technology. So it's a great partnership with that team that they allow us to do that. The IT risk assessment is industry best practice of doing that. As the SOC Type 1 SSA 21 is again industry best practice for a entity like CalHFA in the financial space to do that. The National Cybersecurity Review is mandatory requirement from California Department of Technology and Office of Information Security as well.
Thank you for that.
Go ahead, Mr. McCann. Thank you.
Thank you. Next slide, please. These are the cybersecurity projects we have implemented and are currently working on to assist our agency with cybersecurity risk we talked about previously in this presentation. And so the first one on the list is established a retainer contract with security managed service provider. And basically that augments our security staff. So these individuals have a very deep knowledge in threats and how to look through logs to see if it's an actual threat. So on a daily basis, like Ashish said, we get tons of alerts. We sift through these alerts with our managed provider, but we also brought on board this retainer to have more in-depth. So if it's something that's a little bit out of our level, we can contact them and they can assist us in looking to see if it's an actual threat. The next was we purchased a privilege access manager. And what that does is it protects our administrative accounts. So our administrative accounts are ones that have rights to a lot of different things, because in IT, we need to either install applications or have rights to make a change on a server. That leaves those credentials open if a malicious actor gets in to leverage those credentials. So what this software does is it protects it. So it rotates passwords. You have to have a certain set of steps you go through in order to access that admin account, which makes it more difficult for malicious actors to compromise our systems. And looking ahead to 2024. We recently increased our staffing levels on the security team. So with dedicated staff in the security group, we will be able to consistently manage and monitor our digital environment with our existing security tools. So this allows our team to be more proactive than reactive. because before we were getting alerts, and when we get those alerts, we looked into it. But with more dedicated staff, we're able to be proactive. So instead of waiting for the alerts, we're out there looking at logs to see if there's any potential threats. Mobile device management. So the information technology team had implemented the One Machine ecosystem project that allows almost all of our telework staff to have one laptop to connect to agency resources. This will be their everyday computer. As such, moving to a laptop as their everyday computer makes connecting to agency resources easier. However, it opens the door for potential data loss due to security breaches. We're going to be implementing mobile device management to protect these agency laptops. So if one gets lost, we have the ability to locate it. If it doesn't get returned to us, we also have the ability to wipe the data on it. So no data will be lost, even if the laptop is misplaced. And the last is email security features. So our current vendor that provides computer-based training is one of the best on the market. One disadvantage is that the training materials are standard and sometimes very generalized. For the most part, this type of training is a great way to relay information. However, it can get monotonous and boring over time. Our security staff are planning on producing some tailored training to highlight specific threats to look out for in the CalHFA digital environment. This way, our staff can see exactly what protections we have in place in hopes to making us be more aware. So this concludes our presentation. Again, we welcome any questions you all might have. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Mr. McCall. I have two questions, either for you or Mr. Kumar. One is with regard to the budget. I see that we've some purchases and increased staff. Can you tell us a little bit about the adequacy of your budget to implement the protections that you deem the most appropriate? And will you be submitting, I guess, an opportunity to reevaluate that budget in next year's annual cycle?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Sotelo, I will take that question. So as far as staffing and budget, CalHFA has really put effort into information security into the IT budget, and having just 2 information security staff to now having 5 full-time and 1 part-time employee in there has really grown that in the last a few years for us. And then also bringing in some vendors from outside to do some of these work where what Russell mentioned, putting in a retainer contract has really allowed us to kind of grow in this space. But with that being said, there's always room for newer technologies and new resources. So in partnership with the executive office and the budget team, during the January-February timeframe, we usually would have a conversation about those initiatives. But from my vision, I don't think we'll be adding any major increasement. I think we're looking at about 5% to 10% increase in the IT budget overall, with information security elements being in there, but not major significant needs around staffing specifically, because we just had that big staffing and additional resources there. Thank you.
Wonderful. I just wanted to be clear about that, and I appreciate that that planning ahead. So that's good. Director White, did you have a question?
Actually, I had one question regarding the assessments and the tools that we implement. It looks, let's see, I think there's 7, and then we're purchasing a privileged access manager. it's a great deal to keep up with, I see. I mean, the first question is, are we missing anything? That's like 8 or 9 different assessments. Are we missing, is there something else out there that we would look at that would, if you think we have some additional exposure, there's another tool out there, or do we have everything in front of us now, or that changes year to year? Because it looks like a great deal to manage, which I see why we need the additional budget for staff. So just wanted to speak to that. It just seems like it probably moves every 3 or 4 months because the hackers and everyone else gets smarter. So.
Thanks, Dr. White. I'll take that as well. I think that's a great observation. We have participated in a wide range of assessments and audits, and by having this new addition of staff has really, I mean, we've created a plan to address some of those. And some of these assessments are off-year assessments. We're trying to get to a place where we can do we can spread this out. I think we are at a baseline. We're creating a baseline, and once we figure out what is mandatory through our partnership with CDT and Office of Information Security versus what are best practices in the industry, we can kind of space those assessments out in a manner where we can have existing staff kind of support that. We're mindful of that. We're also mindful of the fact that there are newer technologies out there every 3 months, as you mentioned. That allows us to kind of work on the information security and information technology risks for the agency. We are not planning on bringing any new product in place. I think what our goal is, we want to look at what existing tools we have in place and better use it with the number of staffing that has come in. I think that gives us a better handle of things, and the fact that we have partnership through a 24/7 vendor outside of the agency, the fact that we are bringing in these retainer contracts, it gets us in a space where if something new is coming up, we should have some protection on that. But as mentioned, to Madam Chair Sotela's question around adding that into the budget, we are adding that 5 to 10% in the budget just so that we are ready for that if something new is coming on the horizon. So,
Thank you. Appreciate the response.
thank you.
Chair Sotelo?
Yes, let me recognize Chair Cervantes.
Yeah, thanks so much. So I have a question. So, you know, we're one of 50 odd housing finance agencies across the country, and our peers elsewhere deal with similar types of contractors, vendors, consultants, and the like. I mean, we're sort of operating in a certain kind of a universe. Are we in touch with other HFAs so to see if there's like issues that they've come up with that we ought to learn from, or vice versa? Is there communication across our peers that you guys are involved with?
Thank you for the question, Board Chair Cervantes. The answer is yes, we are. There is an NCSHA forum for IT community where questions are put in to that community, and then we participate on those meetings as well. Those invites come in, and when I went to the NCSHA conference, I think what Russell and I learned really quickly is there are a lot of technologies that is common on a lot of HFAs are using throughout. So there has been a lot of partnership and a lot of questions and answers in that forum that gets discussed in that manner. But there are scheduled meetings for IT and security leaders to kind of participate in that forum.
Okay, so like a sense of, I don't think you would call it best practices, but or smart practices, or whatever the right term is, but it seems you're all sharing information about this. So as threats emerge or approaches emerge to deal with those kinds of things, you're in touch with your peers then, it sounds like.
That is correct.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Wonderful. I think just in closing, Mr. Kumar, my only question would be if we were to read any of the reports that you mentioned, and if you were to disseminate that to this committee and or to the board, which would you pick? And which would give us the best sense of, you know, an overview of, you know, the environment that we're working with.
Yeah, so with the series of reportings out there, I think each reporting, anytime you go through an assessment through any eyes, right, it is always great for an entity. So me to pick a favorite for you is going to be difficult, but if I was to make a recommendation, I would look at a few, right? The first one would be the IT risk. That kind of gives you a holistic picture as to what folks are looking in the IT, what is the industry talking about, the risks to the agency from the IT lens, technology lens. And then the second report I would look at is our the first report that was out there, the ISA, which is the Information Security Assessment, because that is a test to our controls, right? That is actually having a third party come in and test our controls, making sure that those are in place. So the combination of those two reports, I would love to share those with the audit committee.
Wonderful. So based on those recommendations, I think we should go ahead and disseminate that information to this committee, certainly, and to the extent that Board Chair Cervantes wishes to disseminate it to the rest of the board, we'll leave that to his discretion, but make sure that he gets a copy of it as well. And I think that due diligence is going to be important for the committee members to evaluate and to take a look at, and, you know, to be as informed as possible on our security risk. So with that, do I have any other questions from any of the committee chairs? I mean, committee members? Okay.
No additional questions.
Wonderful. So thank you very much, both Mr. McCown, Mr. Kumar. We really appreciate it. And it's always nice to hear that we're in good hands and our safety is in good hands. So thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. So members, we're going to go ahead and move on to item number 5, which is our mandatory annual review of the charter for the audit committee. Staff has had time to evaluate the charter, and at this time is not recommending any changes to that charter. So that opens it up for our ability to go in and make any comments or any questions that we may have on the charter itself. So Director White and Mr. Balmer, do you have any changes or any considerations for the charter?
The treasurer's office has no recommendations or comment.
Director White?
No additional comments. Just appreciate the staff taking the lead on reviewing it.
Wonderful. Okay. So if there are no changes, we're going to go ahead and move on to item number 6, where we have other committee matters. So staff has not brought any items to my attention, but I want to go ahead and open it up to Mr. Balmer or Director White, and then followed by that to Board Chair Cervantes in case any other matters need to be addressed at this time. Nothing?
No additional matters.
Okay.
Nothing. We have nothing to add.
Wonderful. Board Chair Cervantes, anything?
Thank you all very much.
Wonderful. So with that, let's go ahead and open the meeting to public comments. Melissa, if you want to review the directions for making comments. And just to evaluate if there's any hands raised, I believe we have Claire's hand is raised.
Chair Sotelo, I'm happy to wait until after public comment is evaluated.
Wonderful, thank you. Melissa, do we have any hands raised that I don't see?
Yeah, if any members of the public would like to make a comment at this time, please use the raised hand function on the Zoom platform. We'll watch for it and call upon you when we see your hand raised. We have no raised hands at this time.
Thank you very much, Melissa. So with that, I will recognize Claire, followed by Chris.
Thank you so much, Chair Sotelo. I just wanted to circle back to the prior issue of the dissemination of some of those reports. And Chair Sotelo, I think you and I have spoken about this, so just wanted to make sure that all committee members are clear and any members of the public. With respect to those security reports that were listed out, some portions of those may need to be redacted because they may contain some confidential or sensitive information. Anything that is able to be disseminated, ma'am, we're happy to do so. But just so you and the other members of the committee are aware, there may need to be some heavy redacting.
Okay, so with that, I'm going to go ahead and modify my request to maybe create executive summaries of those that do not compromise the security of CalHFA or any of the things that we're doing.
Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate that.
Mhm. With that, Chris.
Claire and I covered the same matter, so thanks very much.
Okay. To me, I think, transparency is super important, and I always encourage it at all levels, but I do understand that we don't want to give roadmaps to folks to create, threats to our system. So I appreciate it, and thank you very much for keeping us focused on that. So if there are no other matters before the committee, or if there are no other comments from any of the board members and or committee members, we'll go ahead and entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Wonderful. So with no objections, we'll go ahead and adjourn the meeting. Thank you very much, everyone, for your participation, and keep up the great work.